What's up, YouTube? Welcome to my channel. My name is Fortan Zimbu. Yes, I'm back again here in YouTube. I'm gonna react in one video about Major Coleman, Professor Coleman, what he discovered. He's speaking about the Noah Ark, about the Bible, Noah Ark. So we're gonna go through so we can play what professor he's talking about. So this is only for education purpose. But you know what? I would like anything. I would like if you majority can like, subscribe, share. I'm gonna play his video. We're gonna follow what Professor Coleman he's talking here about the Noah Ark. This is very education for our children, for our young men and females, especially us black Israel. We need to try to learn. Anyone that want to learn something, if you believe in the Bible, I think this is kind of good for education as well. Let's go.
I flunked out of high school in New York, and then I went back to school.
Wow. Well, now we also have a special guest here with us. Who else do we have here with you?
My wife is here with me.
Okay, wonderful. Now, where did she just come from?
She just came from Brazil. She just flew in from Brazil.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, we've just been hearing the story of Elise and Mark. Now, how in the world did you come into their lives? Tell us about that.
I was teaching, it's just as Mark said, I was teaching a class on African American religion, and Mark was there in his freshman year at the State University of New York. What amazed me about him was his intensity. We spent a lot of time talking about the cross of Christ and how the atonement process works. And Mark had no end to questions. In fact, I got tired of him coming to my office.
Wow, so he kept asking question after question, wanting to understand and investigate this more. Now, what did you present that was so compelling?
Well, the first thing we showed them was how the cross of Christ works and how the salvation process works. And then we also told them that the Bible was true and that they could know and understand the evidence for the Bible.
Now, how did the other students feel about what you were presenting?
We presented the evidence not only to our classes, we had a university-wide program for the entire 8,000 students on the university campus.
What was the name of
the Bible is true, and Major just confirming so, and it is true. So what say you, Muslim?
the program?
We called it the Origin Series.
Okay, what did you present? Can you break that down a little bit?
Sure. We gave them the evidence that the Bible was true. We also had an evolutionary studies program on campus that was teaching our students that the Bible was myth. And I took it as my personal job to demonstrate that that was not true and to challenge the evolutionary studies program to come forward and meet me in public and sign a document that they would engage in a public debate. We offered them $20,000 if they would come forward, sign the document in front, and I had two cashier's checks, $10,000 each, that we were going to offer them on Saturday morning if they showed up. And I really wanted to give the money away. I've been trying for 30 years without success.
Wow. And what was the response then from the school body with all this that was happening?
Well, on Saturday morning when we had our program, and I had my two cashier's checks there, we waited for somebody from the evolutionary studies program to show up, and no one did.
No one did. Was Mark there also at that time?
Yes. Mark was there every year helping me to set up our back-breaking display.
Now, let me ask you a question. With all this that's being presented, was there any issues with the administration or anything like that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. The president of the university, who was a trained PhD biologist, took issue with our program, and they published in the student newspaper that they wanted our program to be stopped.
What happened?
Well, we didn't stop. I wrote a response to that, and I said, we believe in academic freedom. If you have the evidence, come forward and demonstrate it. If you want to shut down our program, there's no better way to do that than to come forward, show that this is mythology, show that the facts are wrong, and certainly I'll be so embarrassed, so humiliated, I wouldn't dare to present this again.
What better place to do this than academia? You presented a challenge. You say, hey, look, prove me wrong. I'm willing to admit I'm wrong if you can prove it to me.
I said, come forward with all the science that you've got, because I'll be there Saturday morning.
Wow. That must have been a remarkable time. If a skeptic, an honest skeptic, was coming to you and say, hey, look, I'm on this investigation for truth. I want to understand reality, true reality. Where do I start? what would you say to them in that few moments that you have with them?
I would say that we really, as human beings, we really only have 4 tools for knowing and understanding what truth is. Okay, formal argument, science, critical thinking, and strong theory. Actually, as human beings, there's another way that we can learn truth, and we call that revelation. And that comes directly from God, but even that has to come through our senses, and we call that science.
And you've been presenting this when you were at that school for how many years?
You're going back a ways. I was there for almost 15 years, and we presented that every year.
Wow.
Every year on campus. So we took surveys every year, so we know the impact that we had on students.
Okay.
Well, I needed a way to show students on a secular campus that the biblical story of creation and Noah's flood was true. And I figured that the best way to do that was to actually build the ark so they could see with their eyes how big it was, and that it would easily contain every kind of animal in the world.
Professor Coleman, say someone has never ever heard of the story of Noah and the flood. Could you break down for us real quickly, what is that story all about?
Well, it was after the world had been in existence for 1,656 years, and God decided that because of their wickedness and their violence that he was going to destroy the world. And he ordered Noah to build an ark. And as you can see, that ark was 540 feet long. On its launch platform, it would have stood 100 feet wide and been 100 feet high and been 80 feet wide. And this is its size compared to modern objects that you can see today. The entire flood lasted for over a year, and it covered all the land on the entire planet.
Wow. You know, prior to me becoming a believer in the Bible, I had learned even in Hinduism about the story of a worldwide flood and how a family was preserved during that worldwide flood. Now, I heard this story exists in many different cultures. How do we know that the biblical story is the most accurate story?
Okay, well, the best way to test that, again, is with science and understand exactly how the flood happened. Before Noah's flood, there was a subterranean water chamber 60 miles down beneath the Earth's crust, which is 60 miles of granite. That water was under tremendous pressure and increasing temperature until it reached about 1,000 degrees. Once the crust cracked, it burst forth with the power of 1 trillion billion atomic bombs. Dr. Walter Brown is the one who invented hydroplate theory, and he has shown us exactly how the flood happened. What's so amazing is not that all living life was destroyed. What's so amazing is that 8 people and the animals inside the ark actually survived, and it would take a boat like this for them to survive.
So if I'm hearing this correctly, what you do in your presentations and in your course is you take this replica of a story that's found in the book of Genesis, and you present the reasonableness of this story.
Yes, we show that it was actually could work, that it did work. The first boat in the world that was actually built larger than Noah's Ark was probably the most famous ship, and that was the Titanic. It was the first boat that was ever built that was larger than Noah's Ark.
And that boat sunk.
Yes, and it sunk, but Noah's Ark did not sink. It actually survived. And when you can see this, when I say this is the largest authentic model of Noah's Ark was not made out of lumber. It was made out of hewn logs and put together with wooden posts. The walls were 3 feet thick. Okay, there's no such thing as a 540-foot long tree today. So you cannot build a full-size model of Noah's Ark. This is the largest correct to scale model that exists.
So I'm sure a lot of skeptics ask you this question, and that is this: wait a minute, all the life that exists in our world today, that's all the animals, that's all the birds, the land animals,
yes,
all of that came from Noah's Ark. How in the world did God fit all those animals upon this boat?
Well, if you look at an encyclopedia of life forms, there are 90 genus forms of life that exist now. The average size, so 90 different kinds. If you count those 90 different kinds of animals and you take the largest species in every genus, by the time you get to the middle one, number 45, you're down to the size of a rat. There were 15,000 animals on the ark, and the average size, even if you include a brachiosaurus, almost 70 feet long, 110,000 pounds, the average size on the animal of an animal on the size of the ark was the size of a rat. So Noah could have had 15,000 rat-sized animals and cages on the ark. The total volume of the ark was 2.2 million cubic feet. 15,000 cages, 4 cubic feet, would take up about 25% of the space on the ark. So most of it was empty.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible.
Most of it was empty.
And so when Noah's Ark landed in those mountains, what I'm hearing from you is those kinds or those family groups, they went out and they began to multiply and fill the world. Is that correct?
Yeah, so after you have, if you have different kinds of animals or genus of animals, that is, you can have different species that come from that. So for instance, wolves, coyotes, dinkos, foxes, they are all dogs, okay?
Right.
So you would only need one type of dog on the ark. That would be 4 dogs, 2 males, 2 females, that could produce all those different species, and the same things with the other animals.
Let me ask you this question, which is, why are you so interested in this biblical story as opposed to any other biblical story?
Well, that is because, first of all, Jesus believed in the flood model, and it's the basis for the entire authenticity of the Bible. If you can prove that the Genesis story is false, you have destroyed the entire belief system on which Christianity is based. So that's why we use this model to show people that Noah's Ark was real and that the story is true.
Well, couldn't the story have been symbolic, metaphor for other kinds of events that took place?
Yeah.
How about creation? Couldn't that, or metaphorical in the language that's there?
Well, it is possible, but when we look at the 4 postulates of creation and we compare them with the 4 postulates of evolution, only the postulates of creation have been observed. Evolution is based on 4 major ideas. None of them have ever been observed. Number 1, that life comes from non-life. We have not one single example of life coming from non-life. Number 2, that all the life forms that we have today came from single-cell life forms. Many people do not know that while we do have single-cell life forms that we call bacteria, we have no 2-celled life forms. We don't have 3-cell life forms. We don't have 4-cell life forms. We don't even have 5-cell life forms. That is, we go from single-cell bacteria to complex life forms. So there's no evidence that all life comes from single-cell life forms. The third postulate of evolution is that time and chance drive evolution forward, of course, and time works against evolution. The chance of one simple 100-unit protein coming together by accident this is a very big number. Time and chance make evolution absolutely impossible. The 4th postulate that evolution is based on is that what we see today, minor genetic variation in species, is evidence of macroevolution. So because cats are different colors, dogs are different sizes, that means that fish turned into cows. And of course, we know that that's not true because Mendel proved that all the genes that exist today, you can shuffle them around, but there are no new genes that were created. Let's think about the 4 major postulates of creation. Number 1, where there's a design, there must be a designer. We see codes in DNA. Codes are evidence of intelligence because you have to translate from one language to another. We have not a single example of that happening by accident. Number 2, that the Earth, the solar system, the universe, and the galaxy are young, measured in thousands of years, not millions or billions of years. Many times people ask me, they say, well, Major, you believe in a young Earth, a 6,000-year Earth. Can you show me that that's true without using the Bible? And I say, absolutely. What's the oldest living thing on the planet? The oldest living thing on the planet? Trees. How old are the oldest trees? 4,500 years. That takes us back almost exactly to the year of the flood, okay, in 2500 BC.
Remarkable.
Number 2, I'm saying, look at the sky. We call solar nebulae. A solar nebula is what we see from a supernova when a star explodes. It leaves a gas cloud. Because of our radio telescopes that we have now today, we can look deep into space and we can actually count the number of solar nebulae that are there. And how many are there? A supernova takes place about once every 26 years.
Let's clap for Major, man. Let's clap for Major. God damn. One more. Come on. Come on. Damn. Nice one, Major.
How many solar nebulae do we have? 6,000 years worth. That's impossible in a universe that is billions and billions of years old. And we have other evidences, such as alpha decay, that we do in our program that most people don't understand, that also shows that the Earth is 6,000 years old. So that's the second postulate that proves that the biblical story of creation is true. Life that we see today are the basic kinds of animals and plant life that were originally created. So we can test that. You can breed dogs, you can breed cats, but you can't breed cats with dogs. So there are limits to how far we can go. And lastly, that is, Earth experienced a worldwide flood in approximately 2500 BC, 1656 years after the world was created. The world is filled with limestone. Limestone is sedimentary rock. It precipitates out of water. The entire Earth was filled with water. Every mountain chain in the world, including Everest, has sea life on top of that mountain. The mountains rose out of the water, so we know that there was a worldwide flood.
We heard Major, he said so plenty. I hope our children, they can, try to listen what Major is talking. That's why when I say Marcus Garvey, he was really correct. When we study science, God first, science is our way. And you can see Major what he's talking about the Noah's Ark. He's breaking it down. He said if Noah's Ark, it was false, that it means the entire Bible is false as well. And I agree with him. Yes, I do believe in God. I do. But I'm a big skeptic when it comes to anything. Don't even start with me when it comes to Muslim. Whew. Don't make me start with that, because I do not believe anything concern Islam. That's just period. I don't, because I find that is everything in Islam is a lie. But let's get back to what Major is talking about. You can see he's giving us education. He's giving us what we need to understand, especially our children. They need to start learning from people like Major. We need people like this in our lives, especially our children. They need to understand that education is very important to us. Major is talking about something that happened thousands of years ago. That's a long time. He said Earth is not older than that we used to think billion of years ago. No, it's not. It's younger than we think. But I believe giving a good education to our children is very important. It's a critical thing that we're supposed to do to make our children to be great, not to be ignorant. Like I have a lot of United States of America white children, they are when they are to be racist, and they believe in a lot of garbage. So Black family, engage in education, science, God first, and science. That's our only way as well. Black African, we need to do the same. We have a lot of smart people in the world as well. It's not just white people, even the corners are African, not just them, but us as people. Majority of things, I don't just blame white people. Oh yeah, actually I do. A lot of things I do definitely blame white people, but us Black people, us African, we are to blame in a lot of things, because we're a bunch of morons. So even I'm calling white people the moron, so of us Black people. But you know what? This is only for educational purpose. I wish majority of you can like, subscribe, give me a thumb up, share. I'll catch you guys to the next one. We're carrying on to the major. So peace.